here's Brody Brazil.
Well, it's not like I want you to tune out to my videos halfway through any time around, but with this video, it's going to be especially important that you stick around to the end because I've got to explain some things. You've clicked on this, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you probably think you know how I'm going to spell this all out, but it may not actually play out that way. And the other big part about this is I'm not making this to rip on the Aviators and question their attendance and question something sinister going on. No, that's not it at all. In fact, there is some explaining to do, but I will save that for later in the video. I just hope you'll stick around for it so we can actually get to that point. Let's first begin with Las Vegas Ballpark. Opened up in 2019, still highly regarded and widely regarded as one of the best minor league facilities in the country. Sadly, just because of, 2020 and beyond, I have not yet had the opportunity to visit, but I'm familiar with what it's all about, where it's located in Summerlin, which I know is the name of a development. It's not its own city. But it's a great opportunity for a minor league team to exist like this, where it does and how it does. And Las Vegas has been a minor league town for a very long time. We can dive into the history on that some other time, but in recent years, with a brand new stadium for the first time in, forever, they're highly kind of touting the attendance figures they get. One of the most highly attended minor league ballparks in the country. Last season, they say there was an average of 6,910 fans per game. And what do they play, 75 or so per season? A little bit shy of the Major League 162 total games, or 81 at home. So 70-something per year, averaging a little more than 6,900 per game. It's also important that you understand this. You hear about that 10,000 number a lot, and you think that that's a sellout. Well, in reality, there's 8,196 seats. So what's the difference here? Well, 10,000 total between the suite areas, the standing room only areas, the right field kind of grass pavilion area, the swimming pool area. The total place can fit and accommodate 10,000. But anything past 8,196 is considered a sellout. So now that we've got that established, and that's about a 2,000 fan difference. Right? 8,000 approximately versus 10,000. So that is significant, not 80 or 800. We're talking about 2,000 difference. So now that has all been explained, I want to show you, as I record this, literally last night's game. I saw the box score with the attendance, and then I also saw this highlight of a Kevin Smith home run. Attendance 4486. The Dog Bat Boys classic, by the way. There's Smitty. Now, take a look at the attendance. Take a look at the fans. 4486 of 8,100. That's more than half full claimed. Does that look half full to you? Does that look like 1/10 full to you? I also get it. I should say this right now at this very specific point in the video because I can hear people coming through the screen. What about Oakland? What about the attendance there? That's a whole separate story. That's a whole different ball of wax. There's decades and storylines and things that have happened that can explain Oakland. And I do think I have a separate video on that. I feel like I've got a video for everything. We're not going to do that here. I know what you're saying. That ain't it for the connection that you're trying to make right now. Yeah, the numbers for Oakland and Las Vegas, sometimes they're similar, but it's a totally different set of circumstances. And if you don't understand it, watch some other videos on it because it's spelled out pretty plainly. Anyway, as for this, and looking at the weather conditions, it was hot, 98 degrees and cloudy. By the way, this was, I think, a third inning home run. So early on in the night, this is not like at the end when people would have left or the game is out of hand, but it was hot, probably humid if it was cloudy to a certain degree, although it's Las Vegas. Is it ever humid? 15 miles an hour winds, 7 o'clock game start, 3-hour game, didn't go forever, 4486. Also, school has just started, and I heard that commentary. But that's not That's not what I'm seeing there. That number and that visual, they don't match. So what's going on here? Okay, you finally made it to the important part of the video. Thank you for sticking around, by the way. What are we, like 5 minutes in? Okay, it took me 5 minutes, but hopefully worth it. The takeaways go like this. I fully understand the difference between paid attendance and actual attendance. Paid attendance is what's usually announced over the PA system and what's put in a box score. Why do teams do this, by the way? It's usually the bigger number. Some people bought a ticket, paid for a ticket, and didn't go to the game for whatever reason. Or, I'll say it like this, in this case, I have the feeling that in Las Vegas, there are corporations that buy large number of seats and they give them out to their employees or their hotel guests, and they just don't use them. And I guess that's fine, right? And this is where I'm not knocking the Aviators. I'm not saying they have an ill intent here or they're doing something wrong or misleading people on purpose. It should say paid attendance. And I'm probably speaking for them. If they responded to this, it's probably paid attendance versus actual. But let's take note here. We rely on the attendance number as people have made projections about what the A's might do in Las Vegas. And we'll get to that at the end. This is all apples and oranges to Major League Baseball for a couple different reasons. But people are going on that number and saying, well, that's how many people show up. That's the kind of support they get. Those tickets were bought, but in the case of the A's, if they're to play at the Tropicana site, have their stadium there, they actually need people to show up. They need the tickets to be bought, but they need the soda to be bought and consumed. They need the beer. They need the merch. They need the hot dogs. They need all that stuff to generate money, tax money, to go back and pay the bonds that are being floated by Clark County. So they can't just rely on Caesars and MGM and Wynn and everybody else to buy tickets, but then not actually have people go. So I get it, paid versus actual, and maybe to a certain extent, that's what's happening here. So maybe that's it. But again, we can't go on one and think it's the other, think it's actual attendance. This also is not the first instance. I mean, I'm making a whole video about this. I did a tweet about this, which was, a little polarizing for some people, but I've seen this a bunch and I wouldn't know it otherwise. Like, only in the last couple of years have the Aviators put out a bunch of clips of their games and highlights where they show wide shots of the stands. How else would I know how many people actually showed up? When I look at a box score and I watch the video with my own eyes, there's no two ways about it. Sometimes a photo, just one photo, can be misleading. If it's where all the people are sitting or if it's a long shot across people, you can't tell. Here, I can easily tell, and this is also not the first time that there's been a huge discrepancy. So, I was kind of taking the Aviator side there at first. To take my own side here, this is not the first time this has happened. I didn't just cherry pick this out of nowhere and say, well, it happened once, I'll make a video on it. I've noticed this a lot. And that gets me to the next point here. Las Vegas wants to boost its baseball reputation. And I'm not saying that ballpark or that team in that market is a failure for AAA. It's not. Where they exist, out in the suburbs, easy to get to, locals will go over and over again. It's fine. But I see what they're trying to do in boasting about, well, we've got this new park, we're different now, we've got a AAA team that belongs to the A's, they pump a lot of talent through, so there's always somebody or something interesting. Totally get it. I see what they're trying to do in boosting the reputation, and this goes, honestly, back before the A's ever even considered realistically moving to Las Vegas. So I'm not even going to connect that and say they're just starting this. It's been going on for a while. And none of this is to knock the Aviators. I promise you. I mean, I didn't make up the attendance figure and I'm not fabricating the video. Don't get mad at the messenger here. So the last point is probably one of the most valuable things I could say. Whenever you hear in legislative testimony or projections or analysis that, hey, Las Vegas really gets behind the Aviators. The Aviators sell out all the time, 10,000 a game, and maybe it was in 2019. Maybe that was their honeymoon phase and period. But here 4 years later, in 2023, they're saying that games are more than half full when they're not even a tenth full. And you can't really connect anything, though, that you see here, good or bad, to what Major League Baseball might look like on the Las Vegas Strip. Minor league, here, let me do this. Minor leagues and suburbs versus major leagues and Las Vegas Strip. Now, that could go for or against both sides as well. Like if you need locals to come support your team and ticket prices for the Aviators are very affordable, getting to the stadium is very easy. It's interesting that these two entities want to coexist down there. I'm also not doubting that. I'm just saying there might be some interesting moments of that. Locals, if they do have an appetite for baseball, and again, that clip wouldn't suggest it. By the way, was that River Cats and Aviators? So the A's and Giants affiliates. I don't know if that's their biggest rivalry. Probably not, but like there's some good players on the River Cats. I know that too. But you can't really compare any of the Aviator stuff and boost up what the A's could do because of what you've heard the Aviators have been doing. Again, the numbers from the Aviators don't match. And they just don't. To actual attendance. And also what we're talking about are two totally different things. I don't think you're going to rely on 30% tourists to attend Aviators games. But then again, can you really even get 70% of locals to go to A's games on the Strip, a very touristy area? Okay, right? Just had to show you the video, explain that out. Hopefully it made sense. Hey, you made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll really help. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.